and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live today on December the 2nd, 2016. It is a Friday, and we have a live show for you today. And I'm going to just tell you, man, I love that drop. Can't say enough about it. It tells so much. When Thando Radio Show comes on, you definitely need to listen to that drop. And if that drop is played when it goes off, because they're telling you so much. I remember the RT report that came from. Very, very, very good, and it had a lot to say, and it really speaks volumes as to where things are and where things are going in the future. So, great drop. It's Scotty and, the one brother, his name right on the tip of my tongue.
Sincere Naquari.
Yes, man, he just really killed it when he put that together. So much love, much respect. So everyone, let's jump into today's show. But before we do that, let's take care of the business at hand. Let's make sure that Black Talk Radio Network is going to continue to be on air by you giving some of your financial energy. What is your financial energy? The energy that you actually are paid with in forms of a king's wage, a lady's or a gentleman's wage, or a slave's wage. But still, that currency allows this network to meet some of its obligations in order to bring you Black Talk Radio Network and all of the programs that are brought to you by this network, so that you can continue to develop and be self-determining in your overall individual direction, your family's direction, and in the community's direction. So very, very important. You could go to the website for Black Talk Radio Network, which is Black Talk Radio, www.blacktalkradionetwork.com, and you will see the donation prompt that's there, or poster that's there on the far right margin in green. Can't miss it. You can do it that way. Or you can actually look on the home page next to the home icon. Just go one over and you'll see crowdfunding for digital black media. You can also click on it there and make your donations that way. So very important that we continue to develop our own determining factors in our eternal lives. So you can help Black Talk Radio Network do that. Also, Black Talk Radio Network has also put together BTR Community, which is a social media outlet for you, designed for you, so that you can engage in social media activities without the worry of your identity being compromised as far as being sold, and you won't be adversely affected for your opinion or because of what you posted or what you're actually events that you're going to, which happens in all of FedBook. You know, it's so funny. It's amazing how we try to keep secrets from people that we work with, but then we go home and social media, you put everything that you're doing on there for someone at work to see exactly what you're doing. I don't get it. Or, you know, otherwise. So that is not a place that you should be. And I know I'm not on FedBook anymore. And thank you to my brother Anthony for sending me the video how to, you know, at least take myself off of FedBook. And I'm going to take a look at that this weekend. Just been real busy with the business. So thank you, brother, for that. Now, I no longer post inside of FedBook at all, or any other social media. I don't engage in that. I never really did engage in. I did it because of RDP, Real Deal Purpose, that we put together. I was asked to do it, and that was the only reason, because I didn't have a Facebook page or anything else, because it just didn't see the overall relative worth, and I knew the danger of it all. But sometimes in order to not really, you know, sometimes you don't have to be afraid of things, just be cautious and aware of things, and do not allow certain things to be used against you that you're not willing to gain something off of it. I just wasn't willing. So got off of there, and here we are in BTR community, and you can join BTR community as well. You can on the website on the far right, a little ways down from the donation, you'll see a B that's there. You can click on it there and start that prompt. You can join BTR community for only $24 a year, and that will service. And that will allow you to do the social media activities that you usually do in other places that compromise you. You can actually promote yourself, your business, events that you are sponsoring or events that you think are important, have dialogue with people of like-mindedness. And you can also set up some things in what you plan on doing. So is www.btrcommunity.com is where you want to go to join the social media outlet that was put together by Black Talk Radio Network. So that's where I post exclusively now for everything. So also, if you're interested in acquiring the precious metals by saving in real money, even though you may not be paid in real money, you can still, that does not mean that you do not have to engage in that into a real form of savings. We talked about that yesterday. You can do that with Prosperity Mint. That's PROSPERITY UNITY, and Mint MINT is where you can go check out what's in inventory, and you can see what's there. And then, but before you do that, make sure that you email Wolf, WOLF, the number 6.
Uh-oh, somehow we got disconnected from our conference. Again, apologies, we've been having these issues today, and I'm trying to get us reconnected back right now. So just give me just a moment. Okay, it appears we are not getting any audio, so let me hang up and call back in. All right, and this should resolve the issue. Again, apologies. We'll rejoin the...
Joining conference now.
There is a move towards developing some really unique pieces for you that celebrates the heritage and the culture of the melanated people of this planet. So that's going to be coming out in the future, 2017, hopefully, if everything goes well, which I think it will. And it's going to be extremely, extremely valuable, some of the things that's going to be, because there's going to be low mintage of some of those things that are going to be brought. So looking forward to that myself. So make sure that you prepare for that. Also, let's jump into, but before we get there, let me check anything else. Nope, that was basically it. So let's check what's in the news, and then we're going to get into today's show. A couple of things that were posted. First article that was posted for what's in the news. Bill targeting Russian propaganda passes in the House. Another day in the empire. And let me tell you, it's so funny that this was just done, and we talked about this on Thando radio show maybe on Monday, how it was a while back that Hillary Clinton went before one of the Congressional Senate hearings, which is all a fakeness in it. And she had said when she was the Secretary of State that they were losing the propaganda battle with Russia because of RT, Russia Today International, and everything else. And then lo and behold, I said I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to start attacking them, and boom, here it is right here. Wow. Never, ever, ever, ever fails. So,
Dave, if I may comment on that.
Another day in the empire.com. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, man, but see, they saying Russia, but we know that it ain't just going to target Russia.
Yeah.
Cause her cronies come out with that hit list, talking about proper not. And they listed Black Agenda Report. They listed Mr. Ron Paul's Liberty Report, a whole host of Naked Truth, a whole host of. And remember, I said on Thando Radio Show when you talked about it the last time that they were trying to make like even websites and bloggers like someone who runs a network like I do. If you got over 500 subscribers, then you got to register as a lobbyist. But that failed. But they never give up. They never give up. And so this is an attack on independent media. This is an attack on Black Talk Radio Network. I view it as a threat.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because that's the real agenda that's being here, because what they want to do is always they want to control the propaganda. And this is one of the ways that they're doing this. You're absolutely right. And that was the end. And I'm glad that you said that, Scotty, because it refocused me what the points were necessary to make, and you made them, because that's exactly what this is really all about. This is when you start to hear the fake news and all this other stuff. This is how the system is going to try to alleviate those individuals that are telling the real truth and starting to bring question to the overall authority. This is what they're really trying to do. So check out that article. Very, very, very important. So what else we got? Next article. But that one is really going to be a part of the big, and it's going to be major moves with that, the attack on the alternative media. That's what this is really all about. Next article comes from the naturalsociety.com. Says first human patient injected with controversial genetically modified genes, and this was done in China. And there's all kinds of crazy things where they are now trying to actually morph pigs in human beings. And if you know anything about the real history of the pig, the pig is definitely it's part human. It's a clone of a human being. That's where the pig really has come from. If you ever ask any real scientist that has engaged in history, that's where pigs came from. It was a cloning of human, and now you're starting to see that manifest and develop itself even more. And this article is definitely, they are far beyond what they're admitting to right now within the overall spectrum of genetically modified human beings. So This ain't the first human that was injected with genetically modified genes. This is just the one that they're admitting to. So this is really going to have some legs. And this is one show that you need to really, one topic that you need to just have an all-out show on, probably in a couple of 2 series to bring you up to it. So they are really, really moving towards genetically modifying. And the reason why is because they want to have the perfect slaves. They want to disconnect your overall free will. That's what the agenda is, and that's what I think that it's all about. So, and they always try to give you some marvelous medical miracle that they're going to be doing for different diseases and illnesses and conditions that they created already. So that is that is a smoke screen and a cloak for their real intention. The real intention is always to subjugate and to enslave further and to steal energy and to get people to where they will be as ill as they were in the past, where they did whatever they were told without even questioning, because they didn't know until, like I always say, for every disease that man has created, the great creator has a herb to cure it, for every disease and sickness. And so that's what's really going on here. So check out that article, and we're going to, at some point, maybe next week or so, we'll have a show just on that, because this is a very, very important one. Next article comes from the Anti-Media. Starting tomorrow, which was starting yesterday, feds can hack millions of devices with one warrant. Well, let me just tell you, they say that it's starting tomorrow, but they've been doing this without warrants for a very long time, because the overall systems that actually use this are actually designed, and the intellectual properties of it all are controlled by the same individuals that say that they have to get a warrant to check to look into your overall device. But it says this is a really good article, and I posted another article that spun with it as well. So check this out. Definitely check that article out. It says on Thursday, December the 1st, a vital Supreme Court order is set to go into effect that dramatically expands the surveillance power of the federal agents. The implementation of alteration to Rule 41 of the Rules of Criminal Procedure softened the legal requirements for obtaining search and seizure warrants that grant the government remote access to individuals' computers and phones. So why is this going to happen? Because they wanted to get all the phones in everybody's hand, get them addicted to it, just like they got everybody addicted to their cash, and then all of a sudden they're going to use that for their advantage and your disadvantage. Once again, the comforts that the system never gives you anything that is going to benefit you. It's only going to give you what is going to steal from your overall energy level. So check out that article. Next article comes from intelhub.com. War, the real reason America is collapsing. And I said in my commentary, well, there are a few more reasons to add as to why America is collapsing. We could definitely do that. So this one say, day after day, more and more families struggle to put food on the table, to keep a roof over their head. We are in a situation because we have had to move this. Successive governments that have totally and utterly failed to invest in the future of this great country. Well, it's not something that's so great. There's nothing great about this country, because you have to remember how this country was established and what was established for, and then you wouldn't be so quick to say any of its greatness, because that is just a facade. There's nothing great about this country. The only thing that has any relative worth is the individuals and the people that just so happen to live within some borders that man has devised to enslave everyone that happen to live within those confines. So that's the only thing that is great, is you, the individuals, and the overall collective culture and people. So next article. This one comes from the Independent. Libya coastal cities are making millions from people smuggling. Libya's coastal cities are making up to 325 million euros in revenue each year from people smuggling. The commander of the EU military task force in the Mediterranean Sea says as a confidential report in a report to the EU 28 nations. So let me just say this. The EU, the European Union, has been kidnapping and enslaving and smuggling people out of Africa and other places on this planet for centuries. This is, once again, the deceptive hand that comes to play as if they're going to save you from a crisis when that is actually being fostered by their overall agenda. And I said in my commentary, there is a whole lot more to this story, which is a part of the purge against the lowercase s, lowercase a. The system continues to enslave far into the future. You're going to see that how this all is going to start. The system is going to use this to start the purge and to strengthen its overall enslavement hold. They're going to throw all kinds. They're going to throw child smuggling into this. They're going to throw organ harvesting into this. This is what the system is going to use to purge certain nations to bring about a more of a broad conflict so that people of the world will think that there is a good side to the governmental authorities that can be trusted and ones that can't be trusted. And let me tell you something, that's the trap that they want you to stay in. But this has been going on for a very, very long time. My man Raj said, let me move this down. And Raj had a comment on this. It says, that is all they know how to do is enslave and mistreat people, including their own. We have had a lot of work to do to help others understand who and what they are dealing with. So true, my brother Raj. Yes, this is so true. This is why you're starting to see the so-called child smuggling, sex trade, trafficking, and everything else. This is all a part of the agenda to control. And they're going to give the perception that there is some good and some bad, but the whole system is evil. There is no lesser evil. It's just one big evil. So check out that article. Next one. Article comes from softwar.net. And it says, and this has everything to do with Rule 21. The Obama administration, among with a bevy of law enforcement zombies, have blocked efforts to stop unlegislation from being put into law. Unlegislation is a law passed by the pen of the president or from the desk of some bureaucrat. In the case, the unlaw is called simply Rule 41. So we're going to take a look at that Rule 41 next week. Very, very important. You need to know. Next article came from Natural Society as well. Could turmeric be a solid natural solution for Alzheimer's? I definitely heavily suggest that everyone have a relationship with turmeric in a daily form, taking it and to have some of it for the future. Turmeric, I know what it's done for me, and I am totally in on real, as long as it's natural, non-GMO, God-ordained, the great creator ordained natural ingredients of turmeric, and so necessary. And I definitely suggest that you all have this in your medicine cabinet, part of your daily ritual. There's so many different ways. Just know what some of the things that turmeric will do. Has a very, very nasty taste, and it will stain your teeth. But there's other ways to get around using it and getting it. You could do it in the pill form. You could do it in the liquid form. But you need to be having turmeric as a daily part of your overall supplemental or your daily intake to help strengthen your immune system and strengthen your overall body. So next article comes from Planet Free Will. Battle for Aleppo over. Real war has begun. Planet Free Will. The Syrian Arab Army, the SAA, has essentially reclaimed the city of Aleppo. In the past couple of days, the failure to break the siege from the southwest, coupled with the Turkish army not resupplying militants, meant the situation would not hold for long. Aleppo is a key to the Syrian civil war, and now the real war is going to be starting, ladies and gentlemen, there. And I think you're going to see that really get wings here in the very relatively soon, and definitely into 2017, what they call a calendar year of 2017. So check out that one. Next, today's show is going to be open lines and current events. But also we're going to jump into the cyber war thing as well. Very, very important cyber war portion of the show. We'll probably start that at the top of the hour. So we'll have open lines into them. My man, Ramon, what's up, brother? Next article. This one comes from www.justice.gov. This is a governmental. This comes from the Department of Injustice. And it says, this is a critical story. Court authorizes services of John Doe summons seeking the identities of U.S. taxpayers who have used virtual currency. Said it from the very first show. Said that they were going to use digital currency and that this exact same thing was going to happen. And we need to take a look at this because the digital virtual currency is a banker's wet dream. The upper echelon bankers, gives them the most power of everything because it allows them to steal from you at will without any recourse or without you being able to have an appropriate response to protect yourself when you don't know. Because it can be done immediately. This is a huge story, and I say all in a matter of time and events. This is something that we need to talk about in this first hour of the show, and we will. Next article from Intel Hub. War on cash goes into full effect. Citibank stops accepting cash at multiple branches. And my man Ramon said this article makes seems as though cash will be illegal. So in my view, this is the cash will be on the black market, will have more value than it does now, possibly double in value. And my thing is cash in circulation now will not have more value, but far, far less. It won't even be accepted at all. Other things will double. I do not think that cash in the black market from this and what's going to happen here is going to increase in value at all. The paper is going to be virtually worthless and is not going to be accepted. You got to look at what happened in India and happened in Venezuela, which we will do. What happens is that when they give you cash is not money. It's just currency. It's something that they create. It's a piece of paper, note that they say that, hey, if this slave comes in and tries to buy something, allow them to buy it until I say no. Well, when they revalue everything, is them saying no, and they cut off the value of it, but because it is no longer accepted. And so it will not have any relative value in the black market at all. But the black market will explode because of the demonetization or the loss of purchasing power. But it will not be in cash that it will be moved in. Now, in Venezuela, there was some cash that exploded because the bolivar is not the reserve currency of the world. What happened there was that other cash did explode. Now, other cash here in the black market may explode, but let me give you a clue as to how that's going to work. That's because that is going to be the cash that's going to be backed by gold. That cash is going to explode. That's the only one that that the black market will want outside of other things that have intrinsic value. So these are things that we definitely need to know. And we got to look at history and how it plays out and tells us how things work. Next one, good article. Erdogan calls to citizens, sell dollars for lira, their currency, and gold. The president of Turkey called on citizens today, December the 2nd, to convert their foreign exchange into gold or the Turkish currency, adding that there was no option other than to cut interest rates to spur growth. Furthering his remarks today, and this is where their currency lost major thing. Now, here's where the thing, cut interest rates, this is going to be the big lick in 2017, the interest rate fight. Remember we talked about 0% interest rates and everything else, how that's going to adversely affect you? Man, the cash is going to really be a major thing. One thing I do agree with Erdogan is this: exchange it for gold. Another currency that may be good temporarily, but you're also going to have to exchange out of that. You might as well get what the market is asking the overall wrong acceptance for right now, and that is real money. They will accept your currency for it now, but they won't in the future. Use it to your advantage. Next article this one comes from, then we go into a commercial break. Secular investors. Italy banks warn 30 times for a bail-in if the no camp wins the referendum that they're going to have on Sunday. And this is where the banks in Italy, one of the largest economies in the world, is going to start to suffer. The largest economies in the world are already suffering. Italy, Germany, India, the U.S., all of them are in China, all of them are having major, and this stuff is only going to continue to manifest itself in a very bad way for the everyday citizen that is not protecting themselves or is unaware as to what's going. That does not have to be you. Listen, everyone, get ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 866-510-9025. That's 866-510-9025. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. And we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Roz, I see you in queue. We're going to come right back to you.
Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. It's me, Dave from LA, and happy to have a live show for you today on Friday, December the 2nd, and we have a caller in queue. If anyone else would like to get in on a conversation about anything, open lines for this portion of the show, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, and my man Roz is in queue. Roz, shoot, brother.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Good to hear from you early in the show.
Yeah, I actually had to take a mental health day. These freaking crackers was driving me crazy, and I was pretty close to letting them have it. So I said, I'm going to stay off the plantation today and take a mental health day. Thankfully, things are going a lot better now than they were, I would say, yesterday through a healthy portion of this morning. So, yeah, I'm feeling a little better. So thank you. I wanted to touch base because
I'm happy to hear that because it was getting crazy. Yeah, sometimes you got to step back from it all, and I know what that means is that it's going to really push you into after the things that you have to take care of, which you have to take care of once they settle down, move into your own space, and definitely we'll be there for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you because one thing we talk about on the couch quite a bit is Black mental health, and it's really hard because they just don't stop. 24/7 is just on all the time, and I think for a lot of folks we don't really understand how much that consistent agitation and pressure and just terrorism has on our psyche, and sometimes we have to try and remain wary of that. And I have a really bad temper. So I was like, you know what? I'm about to take a step back because they're just playing on my job. They're playing with our money. They're playing with all kinds of stuff. And, it's just agitating. And, my wife and I had to have a really good conversation because she helps to keep me centered and focused on what's important, because when I get angry, it can get ugly as far as just how I can react, or at least I can, I would say, just because I've always been a person, as a younger person, I've matured a lot more, but I was a person that was really into retribution. I was not one to let people slide for much of anything. And, because I left home at a young age and I ran the streets quite a bit, I was very, very hands-on. And that's something that I've worked myself through, and I'm at a totally different stage. But that anger, it's there and it's palpable when it raises up. And it's something that I have to be very, very wary of. Even when I deal with my spirituality, and I've gone to different priests for readings, it's something that's come through quite a bit, and it has to do a lot with just me, my whole personality, and essentially the deities that govern me are basically deities of fire. I would say Ogun in Yoruba and Shango in Yoruba would be those two deities, and Kemet would be Heru and Herukuti. So I have a very strong penchant for not taking a lot of crap, and it's something that I've worked through. But this week was a really crazy week, and thankfully I've settled back to some semblance of normalcy, and I'll continue to work on that too, so that way I can get as deep into the Creator as possible. But I wanted to touch base about this show. I'm going to chime in later too, but I wanted to talk about yesterday's show, because I tried to get in towards the end, but I think I called in too later. You might have missed me in the queue. But I thought yesterday...
You know what, Raj, yesterday, and Scotty had some problems. Yesterday, we couldn't see anyone on the board at all. And Scotty was saying that there were some things, but he fixed it. And today we could see everybody that was on the board. So, yeah, it wasn't that we weren't trying not to, but we just couldn't see the board at all. The only person that I could see was Scotty for yesterday's show. So, but and you know what, bro, and is you know who you are, and you're like my brother, and that hot blood, as you always call it, is so funny, and it's funny to hear you. And I'm gonna tell y'all, when you talk to Roz outside of this, man, Roz is hilarious, and but he has a great handle on the whole thing, because the brother is strategical, understands, and this is why. And I'm glad that you took some time off to get reset, because you know what, Roz. You really didn't take the time off because of that. You know what it was really about? It was time that you needed to spend with the Queen. That's really what it was really about. Because, we deal with a lot of things, and you have a very full plate. You know what I mean, bro? It's a very, it demands a lot of energy. That's what that was really, really, really about. And because you have that all under control, and you know exactly how it works and why it works. So I'm not worried about you, but I'm glad I'm glad when you take some time to recharge yourself. And so always, brother. And, hit me up. Man, I'm up early in the morning, Roz.
That's true. You are more than person.
I'm not up late. Yeah, I'm not up late. Man, my friend says, David, you like 140 years old, because you go, man, I'll go to bed at 7 o'clock or right after the show. I'll knock out because I get up so early. But anytime, brother. But let's jump into which.
I was going to say, that's not a bad thing. That just means that your clock is a little bit different than most. I tend to be a night owl, but I think that really comes from my music days. I was used to being in the studio extremely late and, performing and doing all that stuff. So
artist.
I would say, yeah. So I really have the night thing, but I don't have a problem waking up early either. And there's times, I won't get much sleep at all. I'll get like 4 hours or whatever, 4.5, 5 hours, and I'm just up and ready to roll. Sometimes it'll catch up to me. But I'm definitely, I would say I love the nighttime quite a bit, but I also love the daytime. It's weird for me. I don't know. I've always been a person fighting sleep since I was a baby. My mom will always tell stories about that. So, yeah, but I think you're right.
Well, you know why that is, man?
Oh,
because the warrior understands that there are things that have to be done to maintain the sovereignty and self-determination. There ain't no time for sleep.
That's true. I agree. Hey, Minister Malcolm used to say that all the time. They said he would get maybe 3 hours of sleep, sometimes 2. Sometimes he wouldn't sleep at all. You know, even when you saw, like, his wife, Sister Betty, in the movie, you know, admonishing him to get his rest, that was actually accurate. I used to hear Dr. John Henry Clark talk about that all the time, and Dr. Ben. They were both very close friends of his. So, definitely.
Eat and rest, yes.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And I think you're right about spending time with the wife. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think you're right about spending time with the wife because we don't get to spend that much time together because so much is happening, like you said. So,
yeah,
you know, I really cherish those moments quite a bit. And she kind of really helped me quite a bit because I just needed to just recenter because sometimes they hit you from so many angles and you just get agitated. And like I said, I'm a person who doesn't like to let things slide. Normally, I mean, most cases, of course, I got to think and operate on the functional strategic mind state, but that's just my general personality. So it's something that I remain aware of. And most times I have a handle on it, but it's just been a lot of cumulative pressure in that place. And I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. But thank you so much for your concern too. And I will be talking to you this weekend. But about yesterday's show, what I thought about, because when you were talking about, it really hit me when you talked about sneakers and the value of Jordans. I thought it was brilliant. That whole analogy and that whole treatise I thought was brilliant because I was one of those guys when I was coming up. I loved to have, I remember I was the first person on my block with the new Patrick Ewings when those came out. I was one of the first people on my block with the first Jordans when those came out. So, and I was always on it like that. Even with my music, I would have music long before it came out because of, you know, connections in the industry and stuff. So that was something that I grew up doing. And it was only once I left home, I remember my wife met my mother many years later after I left home, and she was shocked when my wife told her, like, yo, he's not into all of that name brand stuff. Whatever looks good is what he rocks. And she was just shocked because I was the complete opposite. I had to have everything. And when I thought about it, it made perfect sense because when you think about it, right, this is why when Scotty talks about the importance of propaganda, I think he's one of the most brilliant people I've ever heard when it comes to how he speaks on propaganda and it's important. Simply because what we think of as value is not really value. What it is cultivated desire. So they use commercials, they use artists, they use famous people, they use Hollywood, and all these other different industries to infest you with desire for something. And the desire for whatever that thing is, even if it's a pair of sneakers, takes on the form of value. But the value is based on the desire, not on the intrinsic value of the object itself. And as you acquire these things, they really don't mean anything. Like you said, out of the context of wearing sneakers as a pair of shoes that are comfortable, whether you're playing a sport of some sort, or if you're a person who walks, or you're a person who does some sort of moderate exercise, that's the purpose it's made for. So outside of that context, it's not worth anything. And I think it might have been you who talked about even when you get in a car, it might have been Scotty, but when you get out of that car no longer has value to you. No, it was Neely Fuller who I heard say that. The car has no value once you're out of the car. It's a liability. Because if somebody crashes into that car or something happens and they steal the car, it becomes a liability the moment you step out of the car. But outside of the purpose of getting you from one place to the other, the car has no value to you. When you're home from work, the car doesn't mean a thing. It's just sitting there, and hopefully nobody's tampering with your vehicle. And we're not taught to think in those ways. We're taught to think that desire is actual value. And we're taught to think that when something is rare, that builds the value. Just like white people.
Wait, Rob, you said something that it's that I really want you to re-emphasize in your own way.
Sure.
And this was
I'm sorry,
liability. That is so important that if you would, just in your own way, why is that? Because you're absolutely right. When it's not working for you, it's a liability. And why is that so important that we understand the difference between an asset and a liability? And what does that really mean when you say it's a liability, because that is so true. Why is that? And just explain that in your own. Just touch on that before we move on over into the rareness of things.
Sure. Now, the thing with things that are liability is really about having forethought, not hindsight. And when you have forethought, you have the understanding, and you said it yesterday, the understanding of a thing's intrinsic value. And the intrinsic value of a thing is always related to the context in which that thing comes into play in your life, whatever that object might be, or even sometimes people. It depends on the relationship you have with the person. Now, what can make something a liability is how much worth you put into that particular thing and the consequences of what potentially losing that thing could mean to you when the context in which you need that thing comes back around again. Because remember, life is cyclical. So you need the car in the morning to drive yourself to work. You also need that car in the evening to drive yourself home. So it becomes a liability if you go into the parking lot and somebody totaled your car because they were driving in the parking lot at 60 miles an hour and smashed into it. So it's a liability then, because you can't get home. You have to now deal with the police or file a report. You then have to go to your insurance and try and beg them to pay, because remember, you're paying insurance to basically cover you in a potential loss situation, but their job is not to spend money on anything you have to do. So you're paying them basically to not pay you. The same way we pay the police officers that take our lives in the street, and we pay the judges that let them off. So the liability is when you look at the context of your need of that item outside of a want. That's why I said they cultivate desire, because you just want the sneakers. You don't necessarily need them unless you play basketball. So the liability is, what does that mean to me, that particular object, if I was to lose that object, and then the context in which I need that object arises and I no longer have access to it. And when you were talking, it made me think, because I watch quite a bit of wildlife shows. And
me too. I love wildlife shows. I'm not surprised.
Since I was a kid, I've been always into that. That's something I use in my writing. When I write about African culture, I usually, in somewhere, I will put something related to nature and spirituality and how Africans view nature in most aspects of my writing. And when you were talking, it made me think that when animals lose anything, you said it yesterday, nature provides for them. So even if they lose their home, if a bear has a cave and that cave gets flooded, he can always go somewhere else and find another cave or dig himself a hole or make himself a den somewhere, because nature provides. When we lose things because we live in a world that was created by our enemy, and it was created in a form and fashion in which we get attached to physical objects, like a house. We get attached to things, like you said, like a cell phone. They get you, like you said, addicted to these things. And then when you have to do it out, because that's just how nature works. Nature gives and nature takes away. And that's the only way that the world can replenish itself, that, nutrients and all of the good things that the Creator puts out there, the only way it can replenish is through destruction sometimes. So that is a necessary part of life. But because we have been trained to think as sedentary beings who live in these fake cities made of concrete, created by our enemies, that when we lose something, we put so much into that house that when that house goes, everything seems to go with it. And it's hard because as human beings, that's just the way that we have been cultivated for at least the last 500, 600 years in this country alone, but around the world, I say probably in the last 500 to maybe roughly 1,000, generally speaking. And we have gotten into a mindset of being collectors of things, of objects. And the value we put in those objects, we don't put the value in context. We just put the value on it. So in other words, if I'm walking down the street and you step on my sneakers, and this is 1991, 1985, I'll shoot you in the face. You just scuffed my $200 Jordans. What the heck you just did, And you pull out your gun, you shoot them because they scuffed your $200 Jordans. Your value, in your mind, that person's life is worth a $200 pair of sneakers. But the reality is, outside of the context of wearing them for show or outside of the context of wearing them on the basketball court, those sneakers mean nothing. If you leave them because you're going to church that Sunday, you're not thinking about your Jordans at home. You're thinking about the leather shoes that you're wearing in church that day. And we don't function in a conscious manner where we live in the moment, where we can think of those things in a way and put it in the proper context so that when desire is put in front of us, we don't just run with whatever the new iPhone is or the most popular object that they put on the TV screen. Like, we don't realize, and I've said this 1,000 times, we are under mind control and everything that they do.
Yeah.
I love that movie They Live, because They Live, to me, is one of the greatest examples of what that mind control looks like and how it functions on such a autonomous basis that we're not even consciously aware that we're making decisions that we're making. And then when you ask a person consciously, they'll say, I'm doing what I want to do. But in reality, they're not realizing everything that they're doing has been dictated to them either by the television or some commercial in a movie when they go to see the movies.
They're
or
doing what they're told to do. Exactly, Rob. Right.
Exactly, and they're not consciously aware that they're being told what they're doing. So, and I remember Dr. Wilson used to say that all the time. You know, they think they're doing whatever they want. You know, you hear black people, I ain't no victim of white supremacy. I'll do what I want. And then they become an Eric Garner. And I'm not saying he's like that, but I'm just saying a lot of the people who think that they are doing what they want to do and don't understand that they're doing what they're told to do in a manner that they're not consciously aware of it are the ones that become the worst abused victims of the system, because they really don't know who and what they're dealing with. And they don't understand that every area of people activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, healthcare, politics, religion, sex, and war, we don't control any of those things. And if we don't control any of those things, who is controlling them? Our enemies control those things. And the people who control those things are essentially trying to be your deity. That is why they control all areas of people activity, because the whole idea is that's what a deity does. So he's a horrible pseudo-god, but he's trying really hard, and she is trying really hard, and racist child is trying really hard. And they're doing an exceptionally good job because they have enough of us fooled into thinking that we are American and that we're a part of this country and that we're citizens, whatever that means. Like I tell people all the time, if this is what they call civilization, I'd hate to see what they call non-civilization. If this is what we're living in today, they consider civilization. And when I hear and read, and I went to Egypt and got to see the story of my ancestors on the walls there that are thousands of years old, what they called civilization was civilization. And that was because they had a code of laws and a code of ethics by which they acted in concert with nature, and they were not to ever violate those codes. It was foreigners who brought all of the anti-nature codes on the continent of Africa that we see playing out today. And it's really sad, but I just thought yesterday's show was just so important because I realized it's really they're cultivating desire, and they're giving that desire value. And again, when it comes to the rarity of things, they'll cultivate value based on rarity. So beyond the scope of, let's say, black males not being able to have sexual contact with white women due to the fact that we were being killed for even looking at them, the other aspect of it, now that we're so-called out of physical bondage, is the fact that because white women are less than 6% of the world's global population of females, they're quote-unquote rare. And that rareness creates a desire. And that desire creates value. You understand? The value was originally placed on them through brutality. Now that we are out of the physical chains and the psychological chains have been tightened around our necks, we think of the value also in the rarity of what they are. But the reason they're rare is because they're mutants, and because they're an inbred race, and because nature's slowly getting rid of the cancer of the planet. That's really what it is. But we've been trained to place value on that. So you'll read a book like Soul on Ice for Eldridge Cleaver talking about, he'll jump over 10 black women for a white woman with no tooth, a toothless white woman with hair falling out because she's supposed to be the standard. Whose standard is that? Where did that desire come from? And obviously you are so infused with worshiping your enemy that you can't see anything beyond the scope of white supremacy. Because how can you come out of the womb of a melanated female and not want to be with someone who looks like you or looks like your parent? That's just mind-blowing to me. And it has nothing to do with racism. It just has to do with familiarity. And the fact that, for me as a black male, the only type of person that would understand my daily struggles as a black male in this system is a black female. I can't turn to anyone else and explain what it is to be a black male to them if they don't look like me. And the other part of it is, once you are in bed with your enemy, you are compromised in every aspect when it comes to any sort of sovereignty and revolution and transforming of this society. You are completely compromised because you have literally sacrificed yourself to white supremacy, because the worst form of racism is practiced in the bedroom. That is why it's incorrect, for non-white people to ever be in sexual contact with white people, in my opinion. But that whole idea of desire based on rarity and desire being what is placing value is what I found to be very, very important. Because when you talk about the intrinsic value of things, and specifically when you talk about precious metals, like you said, that doesn't change. It remains a constant. And the reason it remains a constant is because the value is time-tested, and again, it's something that's provided by nature. And anything that's provided by nature
brings sustainable life.
Absolutely.
Right.
When you see what they create, it's temporary and it's usually destructive. Sometimes you'll have positivity that comes along with it. You might get some benefits, but there's always poison that comes with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to be aware of the tightrope you're walking, and try to be as conscious as possible so that you don't confuse desire with true intrinsic value. Thank you. Now, hopefully I get to hear
well said, brother. Well said. And the thing about that desire mentality, it develops what did I say? An alter personality. It develops a alter personality that becomes your character. When you think of us, when we look at from a standpoint of our consumerism that's based in the consumerism of desire to uphold the system that enslaves us and subjugates us, that develops, you have to develop a character to do that. You have to develop something that is not spiritual, that is not of the original creation, that is not that resonates with the high frequencies of everything else. It has to be a character that is of low tone, low frequency, and low capability. And we become those characters. Think about, that. When we get into consumerism, then we'll kill for a scuff on our sneakers. It doesn't even have to be someone that we don't know. It will even be someone that we do know, and will be even more brutal there to show that we're hard.
Absolutely.
So,
and you know what? When you were talking too, you made me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Raj. And then we got another caller in queue too. My man.
Okay. I was just going to say.
Well, hold on, Raj. We got to ready to go to a commercial break. Hold on.
Oh,
let's hit this commercial break. We'll come out of this commercial break. Jump back in what you want to say. What's up, brother Brad? And then my man Sint is in come from Seneca is in Florida that we gotta have to go to right after this. You listen to Thando Radio Show. If you'd like to get in on the conversation before we jump into a quick part of the show, then we're gonna jump into some cyber stuff that you must definitely hear. You listen to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. Give us a call, 866-510-9025. 866-510-9025. You listen to Thando Radio Show. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Black Talk Radio, your choice for digital black radio. New black media for the new millennium.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call at 866-510-9025. 866-510-9025. We're going to go back to my man Roz, and then we got another caller down in the MIA. But before we do that, listen, everyone. One of the things that next from the 9th to the 11th, there's going to be severe Arctic weather that's going to be moving in on the eastern seaboard really half of this country. So make sure that you're prepared for that because they say that it possibly could be a very, very difficult, is going to be some very cold, frigid weather that's coming in from the Alaska area and is going to be hitting the lower 48 and is going to be the overall weather change is going to be dramatic. So that has the capability of that. So watch it and prepare for it. Make sure that you're ready for that harsh weather. So get ahead of it. It's supposed to come in on the 9th through the 11th, and it's going to bring a very severe Arctic chill that's going to be moving through. So, Roz, make sure that you're ready, and everyone pretty much in the lower 48. That means that it's coming down out of Alaska because the 48 parallel. So let's get back to Roz, then we're going to get into our brother in MIA. So, Roz, go ahead, brother. Finish up what you were saying.
Yes, sir. I was going to say when you were just speaking before the break, it made me think because when you desire something, the parts of the brain that are triggered when you attain whatever that desire is the same parts of the brain that are triggered in drug addiction. And if you think about it, you really get a high off of attaining your desire. So that is a form of addiction that they're manipulating via, the commercials and all the different forms of propaganda that they put in front of you in magazines, wherever else you may find it, on the internet or whatever the case may be. So it's just a way of, I wanted to put that out there to give people a way of thinking outside of the parameters of entertainment, so that when these things are presented to them, they can see it in the proper context. Because when you do, then it doesn't have that effect on your brain. When you're blind to it, then you just literally are being remote controlled via whatever that is, the TV, the internet, the magazine, whatever it is. You're going to be like a tide, just going with whatever's thrown in front of you. But once you understand what is being done to you and if you continue to view these things, if you view them in the proper context, it will not have that same effect on you because you won't desire it any longer because you understand that it was put there specifically for that purpose. So thank you. I'll meet my line.
Man, great points as always, brother. Always good hearing from. Glad that you called in earlier so we don't have to rush your point. Now, let's go down to MIA. Caller in, want to make sure this is the same caller. Caller in MIA, what's your name, where you're calling from, and what is your question and comment?
Peace. This is Brother Sharif Ali, brother. How you doing, David?
What's up, Sharif? My bad. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to, chime in tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right,
always good to hear from you. Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to say, first off, shout out to Black Talk Radio Network. Shout out to Thando Radio. Shout out to you, David. You one of the most humblest guys I know. I definitely want to admit that, you're a humble guy, man. And so I just want to say, I really been wanting to talk to you, so I was just like, hey, I can come on the show, talk to you, talk business. Do you mind if we talk business for a couple seconds?
Of course not, brother. All
right, so right now, I would like you to speak on this OPEC situation because they're doing some stuff that, that I really would love for you to comment on. But brother, I got so many thoughts I want to share with you, but, it's just particularly if you could talk about that. And then as well, even India has done this credit crunch, and I know you've been talking about that. They've increased a lot of their online pay systems. A lot of the digital currency is about to take a major takeoff over there. They've had a major increase in people purchasing literally from how we have our street mart where you purchase things. They're literally doing a lot of online transactions right there through their PayPal situation, but they don't call it PayPal. They have their own. This guy said in a matter of 3 weeks, they had over 10 million people register just in their software. And I was like, wow. And so, and then as well, I don't know if you spoke on this, but the Zimbabwe
yesterday
situation,
we talked about that. We read that. Yeah, we read an article. Yeah, we definitely did. So you're right on time, Chief. Go ahead.
Okay. And even in Zimbabwe, they literally just started releasing a couple of their own notes, and we're like, we need to get off of this dollar currency. And so I told our people that really affects us. You really got to think about that. If you're currency heavy, you have to be well aware when a country says, I'm not using your money anymore. They've been on United States dollars since 2009, I'm pretty sure. But at the end of the day, they said they're introducing their own notes with their own currency, with their own reserve, and they're looking to take a position financially in the world as well. So I just would love for you to comment on those things if I could get you to do so politely tonight, brother.
Man, definitely. And let's start with, we're going to do the OPEC one, first of all. And this, I think you always have to look at the overall, in my opinion, the gas prices were multifaceted. They pushed the gas prices down to impoverish and to push out people that have made financial investment and energy investment to actually put the infrastructure in to actually get the earth's blood out of the ground, because that's what it's not black gold. You know, you can call it black gold, but really think about what your overall blood does for your body. What does it do? It allows the body to function and to have energy that moves through it. And not only that, is the life form of the energy. It moves energy, it moves oxygen. It allows the hemoglobin to actually carry the oxygen to burn the food and everything else. So it's a real conduit of its energy, and the DNA is there and everything else. So it is the life form of the physical existence of the body. Well, oil is just that for the earth, the actual physical planet Earth, that is a living being just like you are. But it just doesn't look like you. It doesn't have an appearance like you, but it has an energy and existence just like you. So what is it really happening? They use the transfusion of the earth's blood, known as oil or black gold. I don't like to call it black gold because it's not black gold. It is the actual blood of the earth. They use that for what? For energy. And that blood controls. This is why they always talk about how important blood is. They use that energy of that blood because that controls nations. Nations need the earth's blood because the nation state is not something that is naturally formed, and it has to steal and devise its overall relevance by stealing the energy from something else that it does. Nation states enslave the earth. The living being of the earth is enslaved by man's decree of national relevance. So now with OPEC, so I just wanted to give you that for me. This is just what I think. So now why is OPEC important? The oil situation was relevant because there were a lot of people throughout the world that have developed ways to take transfusions from the earth and take that blood out of the earth known as oil. And they've been doing that. So now what they did was they collapsed the price of oil. So those companies and those individuals that had expended energy to steal the energy from the earth. See, with me, my thing is that one of the worst things that we could ever have done was to take the blood from the earth. This is why the earth doesn't regenerate the ground as much. One of the major reasons why the earth doesn't, because it's mineral substance. Just like if someone takes your blood out of your body, you become what? Weakened. Until your major organs collapse. Right? If someone is bleeding profusely, what do? They faint, and if they're not able to replenish that blood, they make the great transformation. Same thing with the oil in this planet. So now, they were able to get people to do their hard labor work of extracting the oil out, and then they collapsed their business, but the overall infrastructure of those wells was still there, so they came in and were able to acquire those wells for pennies on the dollar, basically nothing at all. The people that had them couldn't afford to maintain them, and they had to walk away. That's one thing. Number two, I truly firmly think that the prices of oil were so low because all of the nations of the world were filling up their strategic reserves in order for war to start. It was timed perfectly. So OPEC appears to be the nations providing energy for everyone else, because that's what you see for your car to run and for this and for that. We don't really realize what that blood actually spins off and really does. They use that blood to clone artificial life that you use in your daily life to maintain their civilized agenda. They make fake tables out of petroleum. And this is why, let me tell you how important this oil is. And it's no different than your blood. What happens to your blood after so long, after they take it out of your body? It spoils. What happens to oil after they pull it out of the ground? After they refine it and pull it out of the ground? It spoils if it's not used in the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah.
And until we start to have, like Raj said, until we start to have a relationship with not only, when we say nature, we think of trees. No, wait a minute. A tree is not, a tree significance is its root being firmly grounded into the provider of life of the living being that it has a cooperative and collective relationship with, being the ground, the earth. So that's what oil is, and man is devised tricks and deceptive organizations to make us think one thing when it's not true, when it actually does something. They told you that oil came from fossils. Ain't no damn way oil came from fossils. It's abiotic. The earth produces it.
Let me propose this point to you. As a younger generation, you're starting to see, and I don't know if you agree with this, which is the ethanol, where they're using the corn and using corn as a gas now in cars. And now we're going to see automated and electric cars, as we already see, or cars that are literally electric. So I think that the market has changed. If you want to comment on that, because there probably would be a battle between tech and OPEC itself as the old guard of having some type of, power in the business market. You know what I mean?
Yes. And there are other things, but once again, from ethanol and everything, ethanol is relatively big, and it's used, and there's a move as a facade against fossil fuels. They're never going to stop using fossil fuels. And the reason being is because they're not fossil fuels at all. It's how you enslave. That is like saying that they are going to have the 14th Amendment work for the planet, where they're going to free the planet. They're never going to free the planet unless we decide that they no longer can have the planet. The planet should be living and cooperating the way it should be. And these are all controlling factors that they have. So this deal with OPEC is another facade to have more wars, to have displacement and subjugation and enslavement, not only of you. See, most of us think that enslavement means us. No, they try to enslave everything that has energy. They are energy stealers. And this is why they have to have OPEC, an organization to enslave the blood of the earth. So, yeah, major, moves there that are happening. But I think if we look at it from a basis of things, then we would do well. There's a reason why you have major earthquakes, that contributing factor. Chico Stick came on early, and they said the gravitational pull of the moon is that, yes. But there's also another factor that they don't tell you about, and you can see it all the time. When you remove too much blood from the human body, those organs start to collapse. The veins start to collapse. The exact same thing within Earth. When you remove too much oil, you'll start to have earthquakes, because that blood isn't there sustaining and doing what it was naturally put there to do. It's not sustaining life and giving life to the earth. So yeah, OPEC, the moves that they're making, and the things that they have some real geopolitical effects. What they're going to do is that they're going to start to push the price of oil up drastically, because what's going to happen is that they're going to cause they're going to instigate a fight to make us think that countries are fighting each other over oil when they're really just using that to control everybody. And then they're going to start a war, and then all of the oil, now that their oil reserves are full, what they're going to do is that oil is going to go skyrocket because it's no longer going to move all over this planet. And that is a part of a destabilization of the economy that they want to engineer for their benefit. For their benefit. The next time you look at what oil really does, look at what oil is used for to create. That means everything that you see plastic. Right, everything you see plastic, every infrastructure there had to be some blood that was taken in order to acquire it. Just the same thing within our overall some of our history for some of us here in this country and throughout the world. The enslavement is no different. So yeah, OPEC is actually moving. One of the things is that Saudi Arabia is tapping out because they no longer have the oil reserves that they said that they have, and this is why there's the big fight in Syria, because it's the control to enslave the earth and all those that happen to inhabit on its dwellings. That'd be you and I and everything else. So that was, for that one. Then the other one, you were talking about digital currency. Now, this is perfect for today's class. There's an article that we posted inside of Thando from the Department of Justice, and we posted it today. It was from Wednesday, November the 30th. It came out. Court authorizes the services of John Doe summons seeking the identity of U.S. taxpayers who have used virtual currency. Here it is. A federal court in Northern District of California entered an order today authorizing the Internal Revenue Service, known as the IRS, to serve John Doe summons on Coinbase NIC Incorporated. And Coinbase is one of the platforms that have Bitcoin, Litecoin, and all these other digital currencies. So now a judge gave the IRS the ability to summon Coinbase to give up their information. Here's what it says. Seeking information about, and this has everything to do with what you're saying, Sharif, that there's a massive push in India that we also talked about, a massive push to get to cryptocurrency or digital currency as a way to protect themselves from the overall demonetization of the physical currency or cash that was in their country. Over 86% of it was taken out. So here's what the article said. Seeking information about U.S. taxpayers who conduct transaction in a convertible virtual currency during the years 2013 to 2015. The IRS is seeking the records of Americans who engage in business with or through the Coinbase, a virtual currency exchange headquarters in San Francisco, California. Talked about this from our very first show. The setup is clear. Cryptocurrency, digital currency, if you think what happened in India is bad, you ain't seen nothing, because it'd be far worse in digital currency. They will cut the lights out on your butt right away. They can do it by hack. They can blame it on a hacker. They can do it, say a cyber attack happened, or they can just all of a sudden change the monetary policy of the nation that you live in, and you won't be able to respond to it at all. Complete setup here. So now they said from 2013 to 2015. No, ladies and gentlemen, precedence has just been set forever. So everyone that ever thought that Coinbase, that Bitcoin was a way to beat the man. Yeah, let's beat the man. Let's go to a digital currency. This is the new thing. Are you crazy? You know where this comes from? Now, if you know how to properly leverage it, that's one thing. Then you just, like everything else, you use it for what you should be using it for, not overextend yourself. How many digital currencies do you know are backed by gold? Digital currency is even worse than Jordans. Jordans have been around, but digital currency, no, I say that back. Digital currency has been around a whole lot longer. But Bitcoin and all of these digital currencies and these cryptocurrencies, they haven't even been through one economic cycle of duress. So it's a setup. It's the perfect setup. And here it is right here. And this is only going to continue because they don't even need a court order to do it. But see, they're doing that because why? They're going to say later on that the reason why they were doing this is because people were dodging and this and that. They're going to put some criminality into it to get you to believe that the government is protecting you from some from terrorists somewhere in the world. They did that so well in so many other things, and it worked. Here it is going to be showing up again. So, yeah, Cherie, I would always be cautious about overextending ourselves in any form of monetary system that the great creator didn't create. Be mindful of what man has, because man comes to kill, destroy, and enslave.
Did you hear the news as well about Zimbabwe?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Creating their
okay.
And they were going to peg their currency to the dollar and create their own currency as well. Yes.
Right. They created some new dollars, like twos or fives or 10s. So, and that is unfortunate for India, where they pulled out. I think you said 80% of their money, and that's
86%.
86, like literally a group of people in a cold country. That's real. That countries can say this in 2016. Like, we got to wake up, and you got to be ready. So thank you, brother, and peace.
Peace, man. Great call, brother, as always. So, yeah, it's, these are the things. But this article is posted there. Definitely check that article out because I think it's something that you all will benefit from so that you can see the handwriting on the wall. This is going to be the preferred method of controlling people in the future. So, just, one of the things that we need to know so that we can protect ourselves accordingly. So, but let's check this article out a little bit more, what the Justice Department did. And it's continue to say, as the use of virtual currency has grown exponentially, some have raised questions about tax compliance. There you go. Let me ask you something. Do you see what all of this is really all about? This is sharecropping on steroids. You work for the plantation. You can only buy food from the plantation. That means that you never, ever, ever are able to become economically relevant because the plantation provides for you for everything. This whole taxation stuff is a scam to steal your energy. So it goes on. Said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Caroline D. Cirillo, head of the Justice Department Tax Division. Tools like the John Doe summons authorized today send a clear message to U.S. taxpayers that whatever form of currency they use, Bitcoin or traditional dollars or cents, we will work to ensure that they are fully reporting their income and paying their fair share of taxes. See, when you don't control assets, you are taxed. When you control and you have assets, those that pay taxes are beholden to you. And now I am not condoning people not paying their taxes. What I'm saying is that taxes are illegal and they're nothing more than a form of enslavement.
Hey,
That's
Dave, I do advocate exploiting tax loopholes just like they do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all, because there's ways in which you should be doing that, because they make that. But what we really need to move to and see to is that all taxes are illegal. All taxes are illegal. It's done by a private organization for their private benefit. And we need to really have a show of how the taxes came about and everything else and what it really does. What taxes are really doing is it's stealing your relevance. It's stealing your economic wherewithal and your economic relevance. Because they tell you the only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes. Both are lies. And both are scams that were created by a man that wants to control you. Like Scotty said, find the loopholes and participate them. There are plenty of them. You know, some people got mad at different individuals because they didn't pay taxes and all this other stuff. I don't get into that. But what I do get into is that there's a measure of the truth that we really should start to understand. My whole thing with Thando is to prepare us and for us to at least ask questions to start to think anew. Why should you be paying for your birthright?
Why should you be paying for your oppression?
My man. Right. Why should you be funding the stealing of your oppression? I'm sorry, why should you be funding the stealing of your sovereignty, your self-determination? And I think once we start to ask questions, then the answers become significant to the individual, to the family, and to the community. That is critical. Listen, get ready to go to a commercial break. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, don't hesitate. Give us a call. 866-510-9025. My man, Brother Braggs, is there. Brother Braggs, right after the commercial break, we're going to come back right back to you. Listen to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
The Black Talk Media Project funds the use of new media technology in efforts to restore independent Black voices to the myriad of issues affecting Afro-descendant people all over the planet. If media can control the minds of the masses, as Malcolm X once said, then you must ask yourself, who is in control of the media targeting the masses of Black people today? Help bring back independence, self-determination, and respect for Black culture in the production of global media by joining the effort to crowdfund new Black media for the new millennium. Visit blacktalkmediaproject.org for more information on how you can invest in public Black radio for the masses.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025. Sorry about that. Was doing a couple of things in between the commercial break. 866-510-9025. We got in queue our brother Braggs.
Peace. Hey, look, man.
Peace. Yes, sir.
I've been sitting back lately just listening because you be rolling. I love it. Hey, look, as y'all speaking, I was sitting here thinking of the letters of the Inquisition. Now, that may seem strange to some, but if you look into the Inquisition, it's going to bring you right to the current time that we're in right now. Nothing has really changed. Just the time, that's what's changed. The time has changed, but nothing else has really changed. All the pepper bulls that's on the books are still on the books. The doctrines are still on the books, and they're still being practiced. Most people won't take time to sit down and look at it. It's like our Constitution. That 13th and 14th Amendment, man, I've been looking into that, and I need to really talk to some minds that's in the Constitution. I like to discuss a few things that I've come up with. Some people, can really feel where I'm coming from. But you were talking about Jordans and whatnot. Now, look, value is what people put on things. You got intrinsic values where you can't see, but there's great value, and then you have material value. And that's in the eye of the beholder. Just like treasures and trash. Trash to one man is treasure to another man. It's all values. And it's conceptual. It's what you perceive consciously. So I was just sitting back. I really was just going to sit back and listen, but you boys just killing me. I say, I must just chime in just a little bit, just to say peace for the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Brother Braggs, that's so true. And once we start to realize our relative worth, then we can start putting value on ourselves first. And then other things that are important to us, like you may like cars, and you may be great with cars. You know the value of cars. There's another one that person that loves building. They're an engineer. They know the value of a sound structure. And like you said, it's really personable. But we really got to remove ourselves from the value of someone else's agenda.
I think we talked about this day, being conscious of being conscious.
Yes.
Because, see, you either program yourself or somebody else program you. So you either feel that void for your subconscious mind, or somebody else will fill that void in your subconscious, because your subconscious don't miss a beat. When your conscious mind is structured one way, your subconscious works on a whole other level. So the things that you input, and that's what a lot of people don't know when they sit there looking at that TV, hitting them with all kind of signals, symbols, and whatnot. They're not really paying attention to it. But you must be conscious of these things. It's almost like you have to be conscious of being conscious because you're being attacked from all sides. And some of the things you guys were talking about, too, it comes down to that status again. I'm saying, as I look at that Constitution, status and statutes and writs are really important. Writs are like the magic for your words, to give your words power. We don't have to talk about that, Dad, no doubt. Man.
Right.
I'm saying, I've just been reading some different type stuff lately, man, and the structure is just, because I believe words are spells and words are power, and you speak things into existence through these words. These emanations that brought words of power, in other words, emanations that brought everything into being. There's nothing that you see before you that would be before you without being conceptualized in your mind. So your mind brings that to fruition, but most people are not going to see it like that. I really don't want to even try to delve into it because I don't want to confuse nobody. I'm just saying.
No, Brother Braggs, you always just, because you'll be back on, God willing, we're all going to be here, and I think it's always, we need to let people say what it is that's been impressed upon your spirit to say. Don't worry about it. If somebody doesn't get it, they may not get it right now, or they may never get it because it was never meant for them. So it's critical that brothers and sisters that call into this show to speak who you are, because I think that that's so important, so that others will see that it's okay to think different. It's okay to look at things different. It's okay to research. It's okay to read. It's okay to decide to put something in a different motion than where everyone else is going, because then we become powerful. So now, brother, always speak. Always speak.
Because everything is internal. We got to start internal first. We got to start inside out. Start inside out. You'll generate power. You know, I talk to the same thing I'm saying right now. I say this to my daughter. I say this to my son. You generate power with your words, so watch what you speak. See, if you watch what you speak, what you conceptualize in your mind, you'll watch too, because it's a form of control.
Right.
And the only thing you're doing is learning to control your mental and physical self-control. So when they say know thyself, guess what? Self-control.
Man, so true. That is so true, brother. Right, because that is the essence of who you are. Because you have to realize that you influence your life more than anyone else. Your existence, your eternity is influenced primarily and solely by you. Everything else is reactionary. Hold on, Brother Bryce. We got another call. Hold on. Brother, don't hang up. One sec. Let me get Jerry, because daggone, we're running out of time here, because I'm going to have to end the show a little bit early today. Hold on one second. Jerry, you there? Brother Jerry.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, brother?
I'm gonna make this real quick, man. I was just I was listening to y'all, like Brother Brad come in was talking about the Jordans and the desires. It was one thing, because all of our desires and everything from that nature, what we find valuable, most people think we get it from our parents, but most of the time, especially with somebody like me growing up, being born in the 80s, a lot of the people who I know and most people that I've met around that 40 and under range, they had one parent or both of their parents had to work, so they was always being influenced by an older cousin, close friends, or just the people they seen in their neighborhood. So a lot of those concepts that we have was planted by people for sometimes that we barely even knew, people that we just brushed by. So when we start figuring this stuff out at an older age, we've already been so consumed in things, and we spend a lot of time trying to deprogram ourselves. Do you think that's what a turn is coming from this newer age that's having the latest round of children, where the children are changing how they think about things from what you're seeing in the 80s and the early 90s, because of the parents that done went through this stuff and trying to get back to like how your parents was, somebody was always there to watch you and say, hey, this is what's valuable, this is what's worthless. And I'm going to just stop right there.
Man, Jerry, you know what? Everything is a factor. It's the greatest geometry, and it's the greatest chemistry. Everything, and you know what? You hit on something, in my opinion, that has so much relevance, and I'm glad you made that point, because it's a very, very true and very powerful point, and something that we definitely need to weigh in how we reestablish some things for people that want to do things differently, because I think you are so correct in the influences that are impressionable ages that other people had for us, as you said, that was just brushing by. Man, that was so powerful with that, and that's so true. And yes, because, like Brother Braggs, Brother Braggs reads, Roz reads, you read, we read. And we all had different upbringings from, but in today's world, not only are people just brushing by bringing people up from that time frame that you spoke of, but this time frame right now, or this moment in eternity right now is even different. It's all electrical, digital impulses that are bringing. Look at young people today. It's not even a human being that's influencing them directly. It's all from a smartphone and a tablet. So, yeah, Jerry, I think that your point was so important that, and I'm glad that you made that, because you're starting to see. Now, is this going to make this generation worse off than our generation and everything else? Well, I would just put it this way. The ability to have human connection is being lost, and no longer is it desired. And that is a very dangerous path. The very, very dangerous path. And this path is being engineered and is being purposely placed, because what is happening is that the system is causing people to disconnect and have no human relation or human reaction, and most importantly, have no interaction with anything that is living, so that they disregard life in all forms. In all forms. Everything is artificial. Everything is genetically modified or have been genetically altered, because then that's where you get the perfect slave. And this is why I think some of the diseases and conditions and illnesses that are running through young people, babies, and everything else right now at an alarming rate through vaccinations and everything, because that is the purpose that's here. And you really struck on a very important point, especially within our community, especially with us, because we interact differently than other people. Most of us would rather have relations with people than to walk into a volcano and take his temperature to see what the overall temperature of the volcano is. It's hot, fool. But right now, there's not even a brush by, Jerry. It's the text. It's the impulse, the digital impulse. It's the electronic pulse. And I think that is very dangerous. This is why drones have become so relevant. They made killing a video game. So, man, great point. Brother Braggs, or Raj, does Jerry, anything else you wanted to add to that? Or Scotty? I don't know, Scotty's still here.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have anything to add.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So,
I was going to say it was brilliant. I was going to say I thought it was brilliant because he's absolutely right. Just being a native New Yorker, that's exactly what we grew up doing. We did what we saw a lot of, and a lot of times the guys who were getting it in the street were the guys who we looked up to, and then as we came into the age of the television and you had the video music programs, things like that kind of spread what was in the neighborhood to the rest of the country. So essentially, I think we kind of went from the visual to the propaganda machines of the media and the computer and all of that stuff. And then, like you said, now it's just on the smartphone. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with my son, because we used to really monitor his use of the television and computers. And he always had time limits with things, and he was always reading. He was always studying. And I remember one day we had a conversation. This was probably when he was 20. He's 21 now. And he said, one thing I thank you guys for, is talking to myself and my wife, he said, is that you guys monitored my TV and my computer use, because he said what he was seeing was that kids were not even able to have regular conversations. Like kids in his generation, he said they don't know how to have a conversation face to face. Like he said he has called people and they will hang up on him and immediately text him. And he gets so angry because he says sometimes there's conversations you just can't put in a text. You have to actually have a verbal conversation so it just doesn't become just a ridiculous amount of word typing. But these kids are so disconnected from that human contact and that human connection that they don't know how to have a verbal conversation. They don't know how to function in a job interview. And that's another reason why you see people filming like murders and rapes on their cell phones. Because when before the cell phone, if you saw something taking place where a woman was being violated, you would physically intervene. Now it's, I'm going to use my camera, and the camera becomes your so-called intervention. And that's how they have us conditioned, that we don't even have that human connection anymore. We can literally watch somebody die on our cell phone camera and then post it to WorldStar or send it to the local news channel. Whereas before, we were active participants. If we saw something where we could help somebody or intervene on someone's behalf who was being mistreated, we actually would do that. Now we're conditioned completely out of that mindset, and to the point where we can watch the most heinous things take place right in front of us and do absolutely nothing. And I was going to ask you, did you see the article I posted about what they call the asthma tsunami in Australia? Brother Dave?
Sorry about that. Right, man. Yes, I saw the asthma tsunami.
Yeah,
that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that blew my mind. It was my wife who told me about that. And when I looked it up, and there were like 6,000 people went to the hospital off of a storm, and they said that there was like allergens in like high concentration of pollen allergens in the storm that literally
made where that came from.
Over 6,000. Oh, without question. And I was telling her, I said, this is GMO stuff. This is like Monsanto and the military working in concert, as well as, what's that book called? Weather Warfare. It's like all three of those things in combination. And I was telling my wife, I said, they are literally trying to wipe out like hundreds of millions of people. And they're finding out the most ingenious ways of wiping out massive amounts of people and just chalking it up to, asthma tsunami, or Zika, or whatever they choose to invent next.
Or Katrina.
Katrina, absolutely. Earthquake, that's another thing, too. Yeah, and I remember.
What did you say, Brother Bragg?
Every last one of those pathogens, viruses, every one of them got a patent that you can find in the patent office here in America. And you probably find out that major corporations of the federal government own these patents to these pathogens, antigens, viruses. It's crazy, man.
You are absolutely correct about that. And I was thinking, too, when you were talking about oil, and I was also thinking when they actually remove the oil, especially when they do fracking and stuff like that for natural gas, the chemicals they pump into the earth actually have an effect of, like, toxifying and also making the soil more arid. So it also creates friction, like the tectonic plates and stuff actually are more rigid because, like you said, that blood is missing. And remember, blood carries moisture, which helps to lubricate joints. It's like a spin-off effect of all of these things that happen. And when these things take
right,
exactly, and when these things take place, it's like we're not prepared because we're not the ones doing it. We're the victims of what's being done, the iniquity being practiced in secret. And it's just really something to think about. Just the way we've been conditioned, we really have a lot of work to do because we have to start viewing things from a much more holistic perspective. Because you're absolutely right, the planet is alive, the universe is alive, our solar system is alive, and they're slowly killing everything. And that why you think they're setting up Asgardia and trying to set up all of these different space stations on the moon and going to Mars and all this stuff, because they're ruining this planet to the point where they're going to have to settle someplace else. So it's really something for us to really think about. They're doing a lot of craziness. And when you're talking about the child pedophile and sex rings, have you been hearing about Pizzagate?
Oh, yeah, Yeah.
Okay, because that gets deep, too. And it's funny because, it's true. What they're bringing up is absolutely true, and it's fascinating as you start to read and understand what these politicians are and have been doing. It is mind-blowing because it's global. It really spans global, and it spans the highest echelons of political society. Like, for real, it is so deep because it's coming out so rapidly they can't put a cap on it. And more people are getting wind of it. Matter of fact, they said a whole bunch of protesters raided the pizzeria. I think it was like a day or two ago. And they were just raising hell. They were wilding out in D.C. It's a lot to think about, but I think that's something else we should probably maybe build on down the road is this Pizzagate thing, because it has a lot to do with. And matter of fact, they even talk about Moloch. We talked about that, the sacrificing of children. All of that is being exposed. It's being exposed in a way that has never been exposed before.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's a bunch.
Go ahead, Scotty.
No, that was not me.
Brother Bragg, sorry about that.
Oh, no, he was saying Malik's Asteriah, a bunch of them. They put the babies in the arms and burn them in the arms of Malik. It goes a little deeper than that, but I won't. It's enough. We will build on that one day, no doubt.
Yeah. That is, and I'm gonna tell you, man, the whole thing is that the pedophiles, they become the politicians because it's the perfect blackmail tool. That any time, at any point, whenever they get out of line or whenever they're done with them, they can always use we just found out that they was a pedophile. These people have been doing this for a very long time. The purge isn't hard to see.
Sorry, Saturnalia goes right along with that. All of that.
Yeah.
Debauchery.
Yep. Bestiality, all of that stuff. So, hey, everyone, we got to get ready to get out of here. Just want to thank you all. Thanks, Jerry, Brother Bragg, Roz, Sharif, Saudi, all of you. Much love, much respect. It's never goodbye. As always, I'll see you later. God willing, we'll talk to you all on Monday. And remember, before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Much love, much respect. Peace.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs. Gaddafi didn't give up.